Hello and welcome to another day of the Global Littlewargame League 2024. It's been a while, I took a little bit of a hiatus, but that's okay, we're back at it. Once again, just to remind you, here is the map pool. It is the ranked map pool with the addition of Thieves Isle, and today we'll be looking at the Beta League. So one thing I do want to note is that Python unfortunately decided to forfeit his match against Joshers in the semifinals of the Beta League. So Joshers 09 will be headed to the finals, kind of as a default, but a little bit unfortunate, that's okay. But today we'll be looking at the other semifinals. It's going to be SlammerIV versus Steveinator, and this is going to be hopefully a very entertaining series. We have SlammerIV did drop a map to Madurg and also fell down to the Beta League, but that's okay. He's looking pretty good in his matches in the Beta League so far. Steveinator also played very well in the previous round, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. I do have the map selections for you this time around, so it is going to be something that is, I guess, the first time in the tournament side of things. We have SlammerIV banning Curse Temple, Steveinator banning Ice Gold, and then the map picks were as follows: Sylvan Charm, Ravaged, Xenos, Thieves Isle, and Silent Fjord if we do go the distance in the series. So let's hop straight into it with game number 1 on Sylvan Charm. And it shouldn't be 2-2. I do need to fix that. A little bit of sloppy from me, but that's okay. And spawning in the top left-hand side of the map. Not building a worker just yet. Neither of these players are actually building a worker. It's going to be SlammerIV. Ooh, we got a little bit of a cheeky fortress coming up. And on the other side of the map, also not building a initial worker, going for a 7 house. Really aggressive. It's Steveinator. So both players here seem to have a little bit of cheddar, a little bit of brie, a little bit of mozzarella on the mind. And we have the fortress first. So this has been actually pretty common in this tournament. We've seen some players pull it out. I want to say Matthew N was probably the most notable one, using it against Avocado Lord, I believe. And I want to say there was someone else who also did it, but who used it against a Weird Rat on Ice Cold, but I don't remember who. Perhaps it was B-Sherm. Maybe. I don't know. So this worker is probably going to be the one that's going to build a proxy fortress, but matchup-wise, Steveinator actually has not the worst matchup, especially because this Rax is really, really quick. This is extremely quick because it went for that 7 house, and it's also going to be really quick because he's deciding to rally it this way. So one thing you can do is you can just flash over the sledge, and you get a little bit of a shorter time to get across the map. And if Slammer, this might barely be in range. It depends on how Steveinator routes his first raider, but this definitely does have the potential for being scouted. So if the raider flashes over here, right, and then I don't know if it's going to take this route or this route. So if it takes this route, then it's unlikely to be scouted. If it takes this route, it's probably going to be scouted. Maybe Slammer could have, walked up a little bit more further onto this high ground, but I don't know. We're going to see how this matches up. We have Steveinator's first raider going to pop in a very quick time. Slammer going to throw down a watchtower at home for the defense, as well as a house. And we're going to see how this goes. So this is actually a very risky play because you are cutting quite a lot of workers. You're not building that first initial worker. And also that fortress time does mean that you just don't have the number of workers that you would like. Normally it would be like 11 to 8 here, but Steveinator did also cut some workers early on. Here's that raider. We'll see on the vision of Steveinator. Is that going to go to the top side? Is it going to be? It looks like it's going to be routed to the bottom side. Is that going to be in range? It looks like it barely will be. Oh my goodness, this is disastrous for Slammer. His initial gambit is not going to pay off at all, and that does mean that this Dragon's Lair is going to be scouted. I think he's going to have to cancel. Indeed, he does. He's going to cancel, and this is an excellent start for Steveinator. Slammer is going to rebuild his Dragon's Lair back in his main base. I don't mind that. There's 2 options here. One, you just bite the bullet and expand, but that's kind of not what you want to do. You did go for invest in this tech and whatever, but going for this Dragon's Lair at home does mean that it is going to be significantly delayed than this build would normally do. And Steveinator is going to say, I just completely denied you. I'm just going to take a quick base, and I don't mind that at all. We do have that tower in the main base, going to take away any room for harassment for this raider. This raider did see that, did see that fortress, or not the fortress, the dragon's lair in the back of the base, so is going to know that it is just going to be continuation of the plan, so that's something that he does need to be aware of eventually, and indeed is going to throw down that advanced workshop right after. So yeah, Steveinator is in an excellent position. This is a position you don't want to be in if you're Slammer 4. Your opening gambit did not pay off at all. It was scouted a little bit unluckily, if I may add, but you know, it does happen, and things are looking pretty good for Steveinator. He's in an excellent position. I wouldn't mind just even you know, throwing down a third base really quickly. I think it would be maybe a little bit risky, but I think you know, you've got all the information that you need. I would like to see one of these raiders just go in for that secondary confirmation scout that Slammer didn't do something crazy like cancel this dragon's lair. But it's not a huge deal. Cool. We're gonna head into just a regular game, it seems like, albeit not exactly regular given the start for Steveinator, or given the start for Slammer, excuse me. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. We have a tower on the way for Steveinator in the natural base. I think that might be a little bit overkill. Just a little bit. I don't think you really need it, but I guess better safe than sorry. This raider is going to come in and get that double confirmation that it is going to be these dragons. I would, you know, once it gets tagged, you know, maybe just walk in, try to maybe hit a worker or two instead of just trying to survive when you know it's probably unlikely going to be surviving. I guess the other thing is that if you just leave it to sacrifice it into the mineral line, this dragon is going to go across the map a little bit faster, so I think that's not the end of the world. Okay, so what's the defense at home? The ballista is basically done. We have a handful of archers, a third one on the way as well. I think Steveinator is going to hold this pretty much effortlessly. This raider being caught is a little bit unfortunate for Steveinator. You would definitely want to keep that alive just so that you can double check the natural timing, just so that you can understand, you know, if something crazy is going on. And yeah, so far so good for Steveinator. He is a little bit supply blocked right now, but not the end of the world. And Slammer's gonna have to play a little bit of catch up this entire game. We'll see how much damage these dragons can do. I would wager probably not a lot. We have 3 archers as well as a tower. That's going to be enough to ward that dragon away. This raider does come in, does not get this complete scout that it wants. It kind of was idling here. Maybe he would have had the opportunity to check that natural base in the back. Steveinator did pick up this ballista. Might be looking to go for a bit of a push. Like, if you do see the confirmation of this natural base, I wouldn't mind going for a bit of a push. Yeah. Looks like perhaps Steveinator is going to try to do that. You basically force the dragons to defend. Ooh, does need to drop it. There we go. Yeah, he's going to walk out with the archers. And this ballista should be enough at home to defend. Ooh, a little bit of a miss micro here, but that's okay. One thing to note is that these dragons, they do regen health. You know, they are pretty fast. They build pretty quickly as well. So it's not the end of the world for Slammer as long as he can keep them all alive and try to find ways to do damage, try to find ways to do a little bit of something, right? Looks like Slammer's going to take a pretty greedy third on the back of this. So that's definitely a little bit greedy, you know. I don't mind that at all, actually. Where's all the money going for Steve? Okay, so he is supply blocked, so he's not able to build the second ballista. That's going to be a pretty big mistake, actually. He's supply blocked. Could have been taking a third base at the same time. Slammer's third base is going to be denied. I would, you know, you probably want to target via that worker instead of the castle here. Yep. There we go. Steve also doesn't have a worker with this, so any sort of damage is more or less permanent. These archers are actually getting trapped, so there's a little bit of mistake out of Steveinator here. This attack wasn't very coordinated, and I feel like the airship micro wasn't as great either. Slammer is pulling a handful of workers just to deal with this and completely shut it down, but it looks like even that wasn't very necessary at all. I wouldn't mind just picking up these archers either. if you're Steve here. There are some workers coming for the repair, but that's going to be a little bit delayed, a little bit behind the action, but that's okay. It's going to lose all these archers, which is definitely not ideal, and some excellent micro from Slammer here, keeping all of these dragons alive so far, and he's going to transition into mech, not able to take that third base as quickly as he would have liked, but Steveinator also was not able to take his third base as quickly as he would have liked because of that supply block. Not going to be supply blocked anymore because of that the damage that was done, losing a handful of those archers on the other side of the map. But yeah, this has kind of evened out in a way. I would still say Steveinator is in a very nice position. He's still up, what, 7 workers. He's still up in economy with a third base on the way. He still has the hard counter of these ballista with explosive shot against these dragons, but it's not the end of the world for Slammer here. He's comfortably on 2 bases, more or less. And these dragons have been all kept alive, which is very important. And yeah. So how is Steveinator going to play out this mid game? So he kind of knows that he's got an advantage. So there's actually kind of 2 schools of thoughts. You either say, hey, I got a huge advantage. I can just take my advantage into the late game, and then I should win because I have a better early game. Or you go for the, hey, you know, I think you're going to have to be cutting some corners here or there just to get back into the games, and therefore I'll just try to do some sort of big push, some sort of exploitation of whatever, and try to do a killing blow, deal a killing blow. But we'll see which he decides to do. These dragons coming in and trying to pick off some workers, and no real micro here so far out of Steveinator. Slot position is going to start now, but a little bit too late. And also these ballista were definitely out of position. Slammer is going to lose a dragon, perhaps 2 if you drop the ballista, perhaps. Drop the ballista, perhaps. That's definitely in range. Steveinator being a little bit sloppy with his ballista control so far is still going to get that dragon, so very nice. I think you can still grab all these dragons. You leave one ballista here and then send it over there. Yeah. So I would say Steveinator definitely knew what to do. I feel like his micro, especially with the ballista airship, has not been on point this game. It hasn't been able to shut down the dragons as well as he would have liked. Also didn't pick up those repairing workers here, so that's a bit of a mistake. That's allowing Slammer to get a third base. Obviously it's delayed, but it is still a third base, and that's very nice. Steveinator throwing down a workshop as well, going to go for a Mech Rax hybrid, which a lot of players have been enjoying so far in the series, well, not the series, but in the tournament, as well as a third Rax. So it's looking more and more like Steveinator is going to try to do some sort of 3 base push, perhaps. It's going to be supply blocked again here in just a few seconds, so that's not ideal. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. These dragons, you know, so far I want to say like 2 or 3 of them have fallen down. 2 of them, yeah. So 2 of them taken down. The rest are still alive. But yeah, I think they have gotten, you know, a lot more value than they really needed to, especially if Steveinator was a bit more on top of that micro with the ballista. And it looks like Slammer is going to go into a big mech sort of play, and Sylvan Charm is a pretty good map for that. You do get a lot of you know, small chokier passages like this. That's really easy to wall off, and it's a little bit bad in the sense that if you are not able to get a good chokehold in the middle of the map, right, then like your opponent can expand to the top and the left, and it's really hard for a mech army to deal with that if bases are on opposite sides of the map. But yeah, it's just, I guess mech is really good if you control this middle ground. We have a bit of a push coming in from Steveinator. We'll see how this goes. It's going to need to do some immaculate micro dodge all these catapult shots. So far, not the best, if I'm being honest. It's okay. We do have these ballista coming in. We have a target fire on one of those catapults. Did get one of them down for free. And the repair is a little bit slow for Steveinator, but it looks like, or it's not for Slammer, excuse me, not Steveinator. It's still going to get that, but these wolves have been dealing damage the whole time. I think this is going to be cleaned up eventually. It does need a Q fire. Yep, there we go. Onto those dragons. And once again, the workers not being here for repair is coming back to really bite here. If he loses all these ballista, it might bring up the opportunity for Slammer to go back into the dragon production. And I think that might be what he's going to do. Good surround with the wolves on this ballista, on these ballista. Are going to be able to take them down. And this push doesn't actually quite find the value it was looking for. It got shut down. You know, there was a little bit of good target fire out of Steveinator, but he didn't deal with the wolves first at all. And the ballista airship was taken down pretty simply as well, so not the best. I guess he does have backup ballista here, but that's okay. Good pickup over there on that catapult. Can save that. And yeah, okay. We have Steveinator taking a 4th base. We have Slammer still on 3 bases, but he's also adding a whole bunch of den, so he's not going to go fully into the mech, but he's also going to go for a mech beast hybrid, and that's kind of risky to do. There's a lot of potential for friendly fire if you do not control your catapults and your wolves correctly, but if you do, you know, that's a pretty good idea. You get your wolves, get a big surround, lock the army in place, and your catapults just do the damage. Or at least that is the plan. We have a forge on the way for Mr. Steveinator. He's going to take this 4th base and look to hang on, but I don't know. This might be a little bit dicey, but I guess Slammer doesn't quite have the reinforcements. Yeah, he's just going to take a 4th base of its own and just call it a day. Just losing these catapults might be a little bit sloppy. Maybe it's okay to lose the wolves, but you generally don't want to lose these catapults if it can be helped. We have a dragon run by into the pocket natural. Steveinator unfortunately not able to target fire that weak one, and those 2 dragons are going to be able to escape. And yeah, I feel like now that we're in a bit of a position where the early game advantage was more or less nullified. We are equal workers. We have more or less equal bases. Yes, Steveinator is a little bit ahead, but you know, it's not the end of the world for Slammer. I think Slammer is in a very comfortable position. Like, it was really dicey. It was really difficult, but he was able to just you know, hang on to what he make the best of what he was given, and he's able to take a pretty, you know, even-ish position in this game. And we'll see how this goes on from here. These dragons have been doing a lot of damage here or there, but the big value is he's forcing ballista, he's forcing all these airships as well. So that's the sort of thing that even if your dragons don't get direct damage, if you force your opponent to overreact to them, sometimes that's more than enough. And yeah, it looks like we're going to have a big drop into the main base or not the main base, this pocket expansion of Slammer. And this is a very nice move. It's going to be really difficult for Slammer to get all the way back to defend. It looks like he's instead going to go for a counterattack across the map, and I think that's a great idea. These dragons are idle on the top right-hand side. This is an excellent drop. Going to try to do some damage, and Slammer at the same time is going to move forward. There's that friendly fire that I was talking about. That's definitely risky to do if you are this beast mech combo. Yeah, we're gonna see how things work out. This is a very scary army in the middle of the map, but this is also a sizable chunk of Steveinator's army on Slammer's side of the map. These dragons gonna come in and try to do some damage. Steveinator does need to be careful and does need to split these workers, and is not going to be able to do so. This is starting to get cleaned up as well. The middle of the map is gonna be cleaned up, it looks like, for Steveinator with some excellent airship micro. These workers have gone down, a lot of them actually, and they're running away to this 4th base. I would have preferred just to there's a ballista here. Maybe could have tried to go on that side instead. And yeah, with these catapults here, a little bit of a move command out of Steveinator as well. Looks like that's going to be cleaned up. In the middle of the map is cleaned up for the side of Steveinator. I feel like he could go for a bit of a counterattack with these units over here at the same time. What happened to the dragon? The dragons are still taking down a whole bunch of workers. Workers gone down so far, 16 on the side of Steveinator. So these dragons obviously doing a ton of damage. 4-3-2 or 3-4-1, I don't know, a whole bunch of damage. Anyways, this drop in the main base is going to be cleaned up with the reinforcements of Slammer. What about this? Yeah, we do have a soldier run by at the 4th base, doing a little bit of damage, targeting down perhaps the wrong thing. We could have been targeting down a whole bunch of these workers instead, but you know, not the end of the world. But Slammer is going to be coming with that reinforcement wolves and the catapult to try to deal with this. And imagine how much more damage this would have done if Steveinator had attacked with these catapults at the same time. These dragons are trying to come in and try to do some damage. Steveinator is aware of that, is going to react to that in time. Very nice. Looks like he mined out of his mains. Slammer almost doing that at the same time. This push is actually getting surprisingly little value from Steveinator. I feel like it had the potential to do a little bit more. Maybe if it was a little bit more coordinated, maybe if he was a little bit more on top of things, but these wolves and these catapults for Slammer are doing an excellent job of just pushing that push back. And it looks like all these racks army, as well as these catapults, are going to be cleaned up. I guess one thing to note is that Steveinator has been losing these catapults here and there. He lost a couple here, he lost a couple in this fight. Slammer did lose a few in the early game, but after that, not as much. Actually, the units lost tab does disagree with me, but that's okay. That's just kind of how I felt. The facts can lie, or the facts can disagree with me. These dragons are still being a little bit of annoyance. We do have this ballista is going to come in, get a nice explosive shot on, but that does open up the scenery on this side of the map for these catapults of Slammer to deal with this 5th base of Steveinator here. Looks like that's going to go down. The dragons have pretty much all fallen. Yeah, the dragons are pretty much all fallen, so, you know, that's very nice. I like this ninja base in the top right-hand side. This is a very nice understanding of the map by Slammer here. That's something that you definitely want to be doing. And, yeah, we're in a very nice position. Oh, this could be very dangerous. What happened to all the workers here? How did they all die? Probably to some... I don't know, some dragons or something. There is no +1 attack, which does mean that these catapults aren't going to be two-shotting, but I don't think that's going to matter in this case. We have an excellent surround of catapults here for Slammer 4. Catapults anchoring this side with these wolves coming in, as well as a little bit of a counterattack over here. And I think Steveinator is more or less has let this game slip away from his hands a little bit. Yeah, I think Steveinator was... He just didn't have the best fights when he was going across the map. The times he wanted to do a little bit of damage across the map, he didn't really get much done. And his defense against the dragons was good in theory, but in practice it wasn't the best. It was just a little bit lacking. And then that allowed Slammer to just get back into the game. We have a bit of a drop onto these catapults on the top side. Looks like he's going to be able to clean it up. There we go. But yeah, Steveinator is hurting. He's hurting really bad. He's at half the amount of workers as his opponent. And this 5th base isn't doing much for him either. So yeah, it's not looking very good. I do like that he's still using these airships. Like, this does have potential, especially if you can do something like drop into the main or the natural or the main again, really get on top of the production or something like that. That does have potential. Good pickup over there, hot pickup out of Steveinator saving that catapult. I do think that maybe Steveinator overmade a couple of archers a little bit. Perhaps it would have been a little bit better had he went for a few more soldiers, especially against the wolves here. They would have fared a little bit better. You would have been able to micro them a little bit easier, I feel like. Yeah, it looks like Steveinator's 5th base is under siege. It looks like it's about to go down, more or less. We do have a catapult over here. That's very nice. Slammer also has established his 5th base in the corner of the map as well. And, you know, part of me thinks maybe what would have happened if Steveinator, instead of going for this 5th base here, maybe he went for a 5th base in a corner location. Maybe it would have been a little bit more secure. Yes, you know, it might have been prone to dragon flybys or wolf run-bys, but maybe it would have been a little bit better in the sense that these catapults wouldn't be able to do as much damage to his 5th base. But yeah, the 5th base does fall. That is going to be more or less the end of Steveinator's, I guess, mining, because he does have a little bit mining in his natural base, but his 3rd base is, you know, approximately half. This base is also pretty healthy, actually, but Slammer is in a very nice position over here. We have a bit of a counterattack from Steveinator with a cannon full of Rex units as well as 2 catapults, so I don't think that's going to be enough to really deal with this, especially with these wolves coming in. And yeah, this chokehold in the middle of the map is really, really important on this map, because you really do get to control traffic, right? You get to control, hey, like this sort of base you can really easily launch a siege at. You can take down any of the other bases, right, out of proxy, and you're really just choking the life out of your opponent if you are able to get that side of the map, that center position. I think Steveinator understood that, did try to go for it a little bit, but he was a little bit sloppy with the way he threw away his army at times, I think. So yeah, we're in a state where I think Slammer has this more or less in the bag, but I guess it's not quite over just yet. But it's more or less over, honestly. These catapults of Slammer are still finding some damage, a ton of damage. Really, just any sort of economic advantage or economic damage that he can do at the moment is huge. That catapult does get 2 more. It's just kind of the nail in the coffin. Slammer taking all the bases in the top right-hand side. That attack of Steveinator unable to do enough damage. I guess one thing that Slammer does have going against him is that upgrade situation. Just now throwing down his upgrade structures, whereas Steveinator is on a sizable upgrade lead. It's not like huge or anything, but it is definitely a lead. Will it be enough to turn this game around? Unlikely, but we'll have to see. Yeah, but I do think this is more or less over. The natural, or the front natural that Steveinator took has mined out, and that does mean Steveinator is stuck on 2 bases, whereas Slammer does have all of these bases in the top side. It looks like he's trying to take a base in the bottom left at the same time. These soldiers are going to try to come in and do a little bit of damage. They're better upgraded, so I think they should win this fight. But that's not going to end up mattering in my opinion. There are more wolves in the top right, and those will come back and shut this down. A little bit of perhaps friendly fire. Steveinator attempted to retake this base in the bottom side of this 5th base location that he took. And this is a very dangerous location to take it, because you already kind of know that your opponent kind of has control of this high ground. But I guess you can't really take it anywhere else. This catapult drop coming in and doing some damage as well. 10 kills on that. That's a sizable chunk of change here. All the workers going down. Very significant. These catapults shooting at the already destroyed tower. Yeah, so what can Steveinator do in the next game? Because this game started out really well for him. He had a really good night's advantage. He got the early game scout immediately. Had the build order counter in the sense that he went for that advanced workshop immediately. And he was looking like he was in a good position, but was unable to actually just put the game away, right? So maybe, I was talking about like the 2 different ways of dealing with a game and like finishing up a game. I think Steveinator said, okay, he went for that first option where he's like, okay, I'm in a good position. I can just play standard from here and I will be perfectly fine. But that does not end up working for him in this game. Perhaps he should try to be a little bit more assertive, a little bit more, hey, I'm just going to kill you right now, and try to be a little bit more aggressive. Yes, Slammer is an excellent player, and he can definitely play. He's been on the receiving end of all these sorts of cheeses and attacks, but I don't know. I feel like Steveinator definitely had an excellent opportunity, but he kind of threw it away this game. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes in the next game, at least, because this game is more or less pretty much over. These catapults coming in from Slammer, gonna try to decimate this army. A little bit of nice repair here, but that's not going to be enough really to keep Steveinator in this game. I think Steveinator is also one of those players that generally likes to play very defensively. He's a very reactionary player. Someone who likes to play, very solid, just a little bit defensively. Doesn't like to take initiative as much as some of the other players that are aggressive. And that's kind of coming back to bite him. I think Slammer is also one of those players. Very generally tends to be very reactionary. Yeah. Nice little cute mineral walking here, but that's not going to be enough. Yeah. Steveinator fighting till the very bitter end. Down to 20 supply. Yeah, it must be feeling a little bit miffed about throwing this one away a little bit, because he definitely was in an excellent position early on. GG is called. And that is going to be game 1 going to Mr. Slammer4. And let's head into game number 2, which is going to be on Ravaged. Let's take a look. All right, spawning up in the top left-hand side of Ravaged. Up 1-0. It's Slammer4. Even with that failed cheese, was able to put the game away. This man had an opportunity to definitely capitalize on that early game mistake or early game disadvantage, but was unable to take it all the way. Can he do it in this game, perhaps? It's Steveinator. And we're playing on Ravaged, and we'll see how Ravaged goes, because it looks like both players are playing pretty much standard so far. You know, that's more or less the standard if you are playing on such a standard map. Yeah, because I think if you are playing on one of the other different maps, you know, generally people like to cheese on them just because, you know, they're not really familiar with the maps, or perhaps their opponents aren't either. So that's something to be aware of. Whereas in this particular case, Ravage is something that every player is more or less very familiar with, and therefore a lot of people either play really standard, or yeah, that's generally what I tend to see. Or at least, yeah, that's generally what I tend to see. It's not like a rule or anything, but that's just something to be aware of. We have a racks opening out of both players at a standard timing. Is it going to be Raiders? We'll have to find out. I feel like both of these players are more Raider players than Archer players. Yep, Raider it is for Slammer. And a Raider for Steveinator as well. Cool. I do want to say that the Raider micro in the early game is not, I guess, the most intuitive thing. You do kind of have to play it. You do kind of have to get the experience to kind of get aware of what that Raider early fight looks like. We have a bit of a scout from Slammer4, just checking to see if anything crazy is going on. Not going to see anything too crazy. I'm not sure what happened in the early game that Steveinator's Raider is this much slower. It's like not a huge issue. It's going to be what, maybe a second or two slower than his opponents. But yeah, the Raiders high five in the middle of the map. Ooh, that's a quick hit out of Steveinator. Does get the advantage. So what you can do is, if once you do have the advantage, what you can do is once you have that advantage of the hit, you take your hit and then you flash away. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice out of Steveinator. Doesn't need to pull that back though. Doesn't want to lose it. Okay, there we go. A little bit of a nice advantage so far. We have a worker going somewhere. What is this for? This is too late to be a scout. So this kind of leads me to believe something a little bit crazy is going to happen. We're going to have to find out. I don't know what this is going to be. Also, Slammer did go for a third Raider before this castle. I think that was a conscious decision because he did lose that first Raider. Generally, people like to go for the 2 Raiders and then castle into the 3rd Raider. And we have a advanced workshop. Interesting. But yeah, so Slammer, ooh, that could be a flash in. Yep. Nice target fire onto that weakened Raider. Very nice. Slammer redeeming himself for that early game. That second flash was a little bit risky out of Steveinator. He might get a little bit trapped. Yeah, this might... No, okay, he's going to barely escape. He did want to see this castle timing, but maybe it was a little bit risky to waste 2 flashes there. He would have liked to see that second flash used to escape, but ends up not needing it. So, interesting. So, I guess this advanced workshop judging by where it's being rallied to, is looking to do, I guess, a raider drop. This raider drop, is pretty popular, or at least it was popularized in the Rax versus Beast meta, and also I guess against Mech as well. That's something that people did do, but I haven't really seen it in Rax versus Rax. I feel like it's probably the weakest in that sense because you don't really get a huge advantage by. I don't know. It just doesn't feel as good. I guess you don't really get a huge advantage by dropping your raiders into the main base, in my opinion, because unless you bring the worker. If you bring the worker and block it, I guess you kind of do get a bit of a huge advantage. I guess that's what he is going to go for. Slammer on the other side has actually gone for a fortress. So is going to look to do some dragons once again. And given how well those went, and even being scouted, I would say that's a very nice decision. This tower for Steveinator is not quite ready just yet. And this is an opportunity for Slammer, but obviously he doesn't know it. It looks like he is going to take the risk and try to go for it, especially because he sees these raiders on the other side. Now, that's a big surround potentially. Does manage to squirm away, though. These raiders coming in to do some damage on this side as well. So far, doing a lot more damage than the other side. Does need to continue building that. Yes, there we go. It does lose a raider on this side of the map. That's another surround. No flash just yet. Might be able to escape, though. Very nice. And I think so far, let's see. Let's take a look at how many units have gone down. 3 workers on the side of Steveinator to the extra. Yeah, so 2 extra workers versus the 1 extra raider. I'd say it's more or less a little bit even. I guess being forced to build a tower is a little bit poor for Steveinator. So I guess that could come into play later on against these dragons. But okay, here we go. So we have just 3 raiders, not 5 raiders. Steveinator going to block off that ramp. Very, very nice. And we have, boom, raiders in your main. What you gonna do? And I guess the answer is he's going to try to flash back with all these raiders. Steveinator could also just build another house here right now. These raiders can flash across from here to here. That's going to be... Steveinator's not going to be able to get the wall off in time. And that does mean... Okay, yes. That does mean that these raiders are going to be able to flash in. And that is going to be more or less the end of this attack. Steveinator going to try to target down yet another worker before leaving. Unfortunately, not able to do so. Did lose that worker. Did lose 2 raiders. And only killed 2 workers here. So not the best attack out of Steveinator. His attempt at doing a little bit of a cheeky did not work out. Doesn't need to cancel that. Does not cancel it and actually loses it, so does not get the money back. Unfortunate. But he did get the scout on the Dragon's Lair, which is very nice. And he already does have this advanced workshop, which is also very nice, which means he's able to just create or start building those ballista. This might even be a little bit too early of ballista production, because you did see the timing on this Dragon's Lair. It wasn't that quick. It didn't need to be a ballista this immediately. Yeah, I would have preferred... Yeah, he's going to take a 3rd base now. I would have preferred to take that 3rd base first and then go for the ballista. But no biggie. We have this raider scouting that Slammer is attempting to take a 3rd base. Ooh, that was a nice little attempt at a worker snipe. Unable to get it, though. Oh, ooh, a little bit of a miscontrol out of the Slammer. Did try to flash over, but a little bit too slow on that, and is just going to lose that raider duel. Does need to be careful here, though. Does lose a raider. But yeah, the early game went much better for Slammer in this game. I wouldn't say it was perfect, but he did lose that raider in the early game or in the early side. But I think more or less he's in a better position than Steveinator in this particular game, and that's obviously not a good sign. I guess one thing that Steve does have going for him is he has the ballista already pre-prepared against the dragons, so he is going to be prepared for that. At the same time, though, this 3rd base is more or less very, very undefended. If these raiders come in and just take it down, there's not much that Steveinator can do. I guess he's going to come in with these raiders and these archers and try to do that. Maybe be able to pick up that worker. Not able to do so. Doesn't need to send more workers over. Yep, he's going to do that right now. Slammer also is not actually doing anything with this. Yeah, okay, he's going to start sending that dragon across the map. He also only sent 2 raiders to harass that 3rd base. Didn't go for all 7 of the ones that he had. So that was a little bit of a mistake for sure. this raider fight is gonna go towards the side of Slammer once these raiders come, and as well as this dragon gonna try to push this airship back. Yeah. We'll see how much these raiders can do, actually. This is a very nice attempt at an assault. I feel like this does have potential to do a little bit of damage, or perhaps a little bit more than a little bit. We have only 4 archers and 2 raiders, and that might not be enough. But we'll see how this goes. It's going to pick up that ballista. Yep, very nice. Probably wants to pick up a worker for the repair as well. Do we have a second ballista all the way? Yes, we do. And this is going to be a little bit disjointed for Slammer. Didn't come in with those 3 raiders at the same time. Here we go, though. We have 7 raiders against just the 2. Make that 1, as well as 3 archers. The workers coming in for that surround. So far, not the best, not the worst. Good target fire attempt out of Slammer onto that ballista. Once that ballista goes down, it does mean that these dragons have free reign, and that ballista is gonna go down. That means these dragons kind of have nothing to contest other than this ballista, I guess, coming from the back end side. This watchtower is not gonna be able to complete. Ballista is gonna be taken down as well. Oh no! Oh no! This is going disastrously for Steveinator. Didn't have this tower up in time. He was caught a little bit out of position with his army, and that allowed for Slammer to just absolutely flash on top of this army. And looks like his third base, or Steveinator's third base, is going to be denied. Slammer is throwing down 3 more dens. Obviously, Slammer very nice with his beast play. Does prefer to do that. And Steveinator is stuck on 2 now. That time on the second ballista, I know, right? A little bit unfortunate. That ballista was taken down just for free. He wasn't able to do anything. Slammer also taking a 4th base while this is going on. So he's going to be looking to get further ahead. He's going to pick that ballista up, though. Able to save that. Very nice. These raiders coming in. We do have a worker pull. That doesn't mean the raiders are going to be forced to flash out of there and just take down the 3rd base and call it a day. It looks like. I like this kind of attempt of Slammer, though. Instead of just taking down this 3rd base, he kind of checked to see how much damage he could have gotten in the natural base. And I think that's a very smart move. You know, sometimes it's not the best idea because you end up like being over aggressive in the main or in the natural and like taking damage when you really didn't need to, losing your army, and you don't even get the 3rd base. But in this case, he knew to not overstep his boundaries, and he was totally fine. Looks like this advanced workshop that was proxied is going to be able to take him down. And Steveinator says, oh, you know what? I just have to go for a 2-base all-in. This is more production facilities than you can actually support on 2 bases, but you know what? I don't really mind, especially if you have that much cash in the bank. Does need to start building some supply depots. Not supply depots, some houses though. Is going to be supply locked for a bit, and that is not ideal. Is starting one right now, so he's going to look to do a 2-base all-in. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Perhaps he can catch Slammer being a little bit too aggressive in the tech. Going to go for double upgrades. Also throwing down a workshop. That's going to be very helpful, but. Yeah, this is going to be very, very difficult for Steveinator to claw his way back in. These dragons kind of come into the main base, going to try to do a little bit of damage. But even without the damage, one of the good things is that Slammer does see these barracks, these additional barracks. Does see 2 of them, so not all of them though. This is a nice attack out of Slammer. He can okay, great wall for Steveinator. Going to deny that. And also losing these dragons at the same time, so definitely a little bit of a mistake here out of Slammer, being a little bit sloppy with his control here. Did lose quite a bit at the front as well, or took at least quite a bit of damage, and perhaps this is going to actually give a lot of weight to Steveinator's huge 2-base all-in. We're going to see if that's able to do a lot of damage. But Slammer is throwing down some more workshops, so he's going to be more or less prepared for that. Not producing any wolves at the moment, though, so that's a little bit sloppy for sure. It's going to throw down a werewolves. And yeah, this is a lot of teching. We have the upgrades coming in. We have additional production facilities. I think Steveinator needs to go and start doing damage. I guess he doesn't really want to do so right now. He's loading up into all of these airships and going to try to go for a drop, it seems like. But I don't know. I feel like he might have wanted to do a bit of a just straight up the middle kind of push. But I guess he doesn't want to like telegraph his moves as much. Ooh, these dragons taking a look. Okay, that's gonna be pretty huge. Where are the ballista? Did they all die? Oh no. Oh no, there's one in here. That's what. But this is a pretty good fight for Steveinator actually. Just want to make sure he doesn't lose any of this to friendly fire, but yeah, so far pretty good fight for Steveinator. This is pretty much as you would have liked, or as much as you can ask for if you're Steve. And once he cleans this army up, especially with the reinforcements, he's gonna have a bit of an opportunity where Slammer is a little bit lacking in the army. He has a whole bunch of production structures, isn't actually producing out of most of them at the moment. There we go, 3 catapults on the way, and Steven needs to go and actually start doing damage. He's gonna go across the map, but I don't know. I feel like that's not gonna be enough. Maybe even with this sort of greed that Slammer's been doing, taking a 5th base, double upgrades, even though he's only using one of them. Yep. I feel like Steveinator might not have the standing army to really do a significant game-ending amount of damage. We do have a handful of towers over here as well, so that's going to be difficult for Steve to really deal with. It's going to just drop on top. That might not have been the best idea. I think I would have preferred just go for the jugular, try to do this sort of thing, but go into the main, but I don't think it's a horrible idea, to be honest. We have, looks like a huge surround being set up for Slammer, and that might be just the end of it if everything does get surrounded and taken down. We have some reinforcements coming in. That's very nice. Steven needs to pick up, and he needs to pick up now. Is going to leave that ballista behind. Oh no, that is barely going to be able to save that, but that is 1 HP. I don't think that's going to be enough to deal with all these dragons, especially if it doesn't get repaired. The workers do come. A good pop pickup once again. But yeah, that ballista is just one shot away from dying. Is going to be taken down. Not quite. Good pickup Microsoft so far out of Steveinator, but it is eventually going to fall, and I think that's just might be it. This drop is going to be cleaned up. These reinforcement soldiers are going to come in and try to do some damage, but not going to be able to find too much, it seems like, especially with the dragons reigning supreme in the air with all these ballista having gone down. Looks like Steveinator going to take a 3rd base off of this, but this is going to be a 3rd base against a player with 5 bases. So, yeah, obviously not ideal if you are Steveinator. I feel like if he had done this sort of thing in the previous game, it definitely would have worked out a lot better. But perhaps this game was the actual game to go for a bit of just a standard play. I don't know. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, I guess, strategy-wise. This raider does get the scout on this castle, I believe. Yeah, that was even the wrong, what's it called? Viewpoint. I don't know what it's called. It says vision here, but I don't know if that's the correct gaming term for it. I don't know. Looks like Steveinator says I need to take a 4th base at the same time, because or else I'm going to be way too far behind. But he's already way too far behind. He does have 2 ballista in here. Doesn't need to not lose his... Oh no, losing that airship is absolutely disastrous. At the same time, we have an airship being remade right now, but these ballista are going to get surrounded and trapped. I think this might be it. GG is called. Steveinator is going to tap out, and that does mean Slammer is up 2-0. He'll have the opportunity to put this series away on Xenos, and let's hop right into that. Game 3 on Xenos. Spawning in the bottom left-hand side of the map. Up 2-0 with some very nice play, especially in that second game. He looked like he held Steveinator's build very, very comfortably. It's Slammer 4. And spawning in the top right-hand side of the map. Down 0-2. Can he stage a comeback? It's Steveinator. I guess I want to talk a little bit about that decision out of Steveinator to go for that 2-base all in. I really don't mind it in a sense, but at the same time, perhaps it wasn't the right map for it, or the right, I guess, time for it. Maybe had he gone for it initially off the bat, maybe it would have worked a little bit better, or perhaps maybe if he had tried to do a little bit more decisive with it, instead of going at the 4th base, went to the main base. I don't know. It was a little bit unfortunate, definitely, for Steveinator, where he lost so many things in the early game. His initial attack didn't do as much, and also his what's it called? His losing his advanced workshop, losing his initial 3rd base, losing the ballista that popped out. Definitely not ideal. Okay, so Steveinator did go for a Brax, a little bit delayed. We have a bit of a scout coming in. We also have a bit of a scout out of Slammer, or maybe this is a proxy. We'll have to find out. Steve is going to hop into the main base. Interesting. This is something that Steveinator does like to do. He doesn't do it too much, but not too much, I guess. But he does do it occasionally, where he goes for this worker scout. And generally, it's pretty safe against any sort of cheese. But in this particular case, it's not going to be the best, because unless he's counting all these workers, which is difficult to do, it is possible. Destroy also, I want to say, is one of those players who really started doing it. Ended up not working as well as he would have liked, in my opinion. Probably because it's usually not worth it to worker scout, in the sense that sometimes you're just behind because you don't get anything out of it. But yeah, so generally the idea is you want to try to see if there's some sort of like cheese. But this sort of thing is actually really hard to scout with that worker scout, because it looks more or less the same until that castle timing. And yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Steveinator to be prepared for this. So it's going to be a 2 racks, 1 at home, 1 proxy for Slammer 4 here. And this is a very aggressive build. It's going to come down to the micro on both sides. Slammer does have some good micro. Steveinator, not the best, but he does have some solid micro as well. We're going to see how this goes. Generally, if you do this build, you want to wait for 5 archers. Might not actually wait for 5, because one of them is at home. Is going to build this house on the corner of the map, which is very nice, I think. Instead of building it at home, because that also can be scouted and say, hey, what is this? Why do you only have 2 houses? But anyways, yeah, so we're gonna generally wait for 5 archers, because 5 is the magic number to 2-shot workers. And now you know this raider coming in, gonna see the castle timing, or the lack thereof, is gonna be a huge tell, and we'll see if Steveinator is able to react and respond in time. Is he gonna be able to identify that this is indeed a 1-base all in? We'll have to find out. This raider did take a lot of damage, though. It took a lot more damage than it really needed to. Oh my goodness, it's gonna go down. That is very disastrous for Steveinator here. That raider was supposed to be the one that tipped Steveinator off that something weird is happening. Something weird is going on. He does have a backup raider. Obviously, that is good. But I don't know. I don't think he really knows at this moment. He's not doing anything like throwing down a tower. He's going to see these archers, going to try to snipe that weakened one. He can stay in there and go take it down, but, does want to escape with his life, and he's going to be able to do that. I think, so yep, Steveinator is, or not Steveinator, excuse me, Slammer is going to pull the trigger. Going to go with, looks like 6 archers going to meet up and try to do this. This is also a very nice, actually, location now I think about it, because if you were ready in time, you could have just cut off this raider from the high ground as well. Unfortunately, yeah, very, very nice. This is a very smart play out of Slammer. Clearly prepared. A little bit of a mistake over here, though. Doesn't need to target that down. Is going to be able to get it. This tower is going to start, but that's going to be a little bit too little, too late. I wouldn't mind even just some soldiers coming in out of Slammer here. This is going to be really difficult for Steveinator to defend, and we'll see how this micro goes. I think it's going to be basically over. Target firing that archer. Good target fire out of Steveinator, targeting the weakened archer at the same time. We have 2 archers going down so far, but these workers are falling at the same time in an incredible rate. A little bit of a missed target fire out of Steveinator, or sorry, Slammer, not quite getting the hits that he wanted, but this tower isn't quite up just yet, and that does mean these archers still have a lot of time to do a lot of damage, and this is a huge army deficit for Steveinator. He's buying as much time as he can. But even if this watchtower does go up, this map is a map where you can just just hold position over here, take down because this watchtower isn't like the best low-key situated one. It's gonna target down yet another worker. That might have been a little bit risky. It's gonna lose 0 archers for that, so not too bad. But yeah, what I was saying is that Slammer can probably just park his army over here, take down this house for free, and this tower just doesn't cover everything. It just can't because of this map. I guess the one potential way that it could have happened is if Steveinator put his castle here and the tower's like here-ish, but yeah, this is not looking good for Steve here. He's down to 7 workers, 8 workers, 9 workers, excuse me. And Slammer, this isn't like a completely all-in dedicated thing. Slammer is already up to 12 workers, and yeah, I think this just might be it. Steveinator just doesn't have the worker or the workers, doesn't have the army to deal with this either. He does have a tower which is going to anchor this position, but that's not going to do anything for the main base. So I think this is going to be it. This is a very nice prepared build for Slammer. It's not like a game-breaking new discovery or anything like that, but it was just very well executed. I loved the idea of coming from the backside to trap that raider, and Steveinator losing that first raider was definitely the biggest issue here. It didn't get the full scout that he wanted. He didn't quite recognize that it was a 1-base all-in, and then that was just it. Yeah, Steveinator forced to evacuate into his natural base, forced to give his main, and yeah, Slammer does have that natural base on the way at the same time. I think this just might be it. This just might be it. I like that Slammer just kind of checked the entire main base just to see if there's anything going on, if there's anything crazy. And I also like that he's not just shooting the castle. I like that he's just posturing on this high ground here, because it doesn't matter if you do a little bit of damage to this, but it's really nice if you can just hold a very nice position here and just get the archer kills and continue to snowball your army advantage. Would like to see him just pull that archer back. Does not end up doing so. Steveinator is going to pull all the workers in a desperate attempt to hold this, but I don't think that's going to be quite enough. A good pull back micro out of Slammer. Going to try to target down all the weakened workers. And eventually this is going to be cleaned up, but at what cost? GG is called. And that does mean that Slammer is going to 3-0 sweep Steveinator in this semifinals. Let's hop right into this. There we go. And that does mean your Beta League Finals is going to be Slammer 4 versus Josh09. That's going to be a best of 7. I'm really excited for that. I hope you are too, and we'll see you in the next one.